Make our praises heard afar. God defend New Zealand. Yeah. Now that we're making it, please.
Det stapte munne din somnul cel de moarte, în care te adânciră barbarii de tirani. And it's pretty much the same melody all over.
No. Hungarian.
My singing skills.
We are the Congress.
Come on, you just heard mine.
Isten meg a magyar. I don't wanna I don't wanna sing now. I'm terrible at this.
The Canadian one?
Am I really Canadian though?
I don't know.
We're so
American.
I'm sure you can sing it.
we are a country in crisis in Canada. So I declined to sing the national anthem. However,
that's a good one.
yeah, were I to sing an anthem, it would probably be the American one. And just a shout out to our founding fathers.
So you're not gonna sing.
I'm not.
You just tease us. Oh, can you see? Da, 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 da. I don't know the lyrics. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. 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 Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da, 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 da. Da 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 da. This is the hard part. The land of the free and the home of the brave. We're such statists. Hello, hello there, and welcome to the Bitcoin Takeover podcast. This is a very unusual episode which just happened, and there is no further explanation for this. I was speaking with Ben de Waal. He is to my extreme left, and that's a pun.
Indeed.
And we were talking about doing a special kind of interview which wasn't done before. Basically, what can I ask you that wasn't asked before? And then Karo just jumped in and was like, when can we do a podcast, Vlad? And I had this idea, why don't we mix it? So basically, I ask Ben the questions and Karo reacts. And then also Alexandra Moxin tagged along. She also has a podcast. It's called Advancing Tech or something.
Advanced Tech Podcast.
Yes.
Advanced Tech Podcast.
And Karo used to have Bitcoin Rehab, but not anymore.
Bitcoin Rehab and privacy open sourced.
Open sourced, yes. You had like 2 episodes. You should keep it going.
Got a third one right now with Max Hildebrand. But there are 3 episodes also on Bitcoin Rehab that is coming soon. I promise.
The bad news is that we only have 2 microphones. We're going to have to pass them from hand to hand. We're super spreaders. Let's talk politics.
Oh no! I'm gonna
Yay, politics.
Bye.
That is the topic which I was going to approach with Ben.
Just want to state for the record, I am apolitical for the win.
Yes, but you have political opinions. So apolitical means that you don't support a political party or movement. But
Fuck politics.
if I ask you about certain issues, you're going to have an opinion, which automatically means that you're political.
I don't know. I believe in neutrality. I think when it comes to playing the game and when you're on the board, keeping a neutral space where no one gets harmed is very important.
Also, did you see my T-shirt? I should.
Turn this thing up.
It's incredible.
All-time low.
This is the drinking game. Every time I
All-time
say incredible,
low.
someone has to take a drink. So I made that up in my talk. I kept saying incredible, and I realized how ridiculous it sounded. So I said, okay, every time I say incredible, take a drink. So there were 3
It's a
points.
bear market. I don't have money to buy
You're gonna
drinks.
get
Sorry.
drunk fast.
Well, drink water. Water's good. Sparkling water.
Well, it looks like I'm the only one here who actually has a drink at the moment, but
That's why you want to talk politics.
absolutely, I don't think I'd be doing this if I hadn't already had a few beers.
So, Ben, let's do this the way that we established. We're gonna discuss about your political views without mentioning them, even though I teased them in the beginning.
Sure
So,
thing.
That
Yep.
was a spoiler, I guess. But what do you think about states, man? Like, should they exist? Are we free human beings?
States should not exist as they currently exist. States are essentially a corruption of the way that people get together to self-organize. People generally do get together to self-organize on lots of different things. We come together and say, hey, let's throw a party, or come together and say, hey, let's do this hackers congress at Paralelni Polis. So we come together and do stuff. But the state is essentially this large extra organization which has built itself over the idea of people coming together and doing stuff, but then telling other people, no, you can't come together and do stuff. The state is people, a smaller group of people saying, we are the ones who get to say what you come together and do stuff about. So, no, states should not exist.
But who builds the roads, Ben? Who builds the roads?
The people who need the roads build the roads.
If I need to get somewhere, I will make sure that there's the goddamn road. I will lay the foundations for it, or pay someone to do it. So, like, maybe from Romania, you can. But who cares?
I'm pretty sure that last part did not get recorded because you're talking without keeping your microphone next to your mouth. Plus, you're muffled by this beautiful mask.
I am sorry.
I'll call you Sorry from now on. That's your new name. You are Sorry.
Call me Carlos. So like I'm only a bit radical, I would say. It just, yeah.
Right, so if you're not aware, he's basically a permanent part of the legal history of Norway. He was mentioned on record during the Craig Wright versus Hodlonaut trial. And basically at one point they talked about the Bitcoin Plebs Telegram group, of which I'm a part, and I'm pretty sure you're also a part. I'm not sure about you guys.
I was until Katoshi kicked me out. So fuck you, Katoshi.
Hey, be nice to my friend.
Not Hodlonaut's girlfriend, but the Katoshi Mamoru. So, just put me back in the goddamn group, motherfucker. So, yeah.
Fair.
Okay, so the story about that is that at one point you suggested that we can 51% attack BSV.
Yes, we should. Because I think that the shitcoins are an attack on Bitcoin. And since there is no other space left for any other currency to exist, to make space or to improve Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is a civilizational technology. But how I mean that is that, it's like agriculture. Is it just the one shot we have at improving our lives and improving the financial system and the economy that we're in, so we can reintroduce saving into society. Because right now, since there's no saving, people, operate on lending, on credits and everything, and they overcredit themselves to the point that you need to have a credit card to buy things in the supermarket or somewhere. And this is a catastrophe that national central banking and national monetarism have, perpetrated over the 100 years now. And everything is with Edward Maynard Keynes that he did, and he completely ruined society. This is what I've been studying and researching over the years. And society is really like a downfall of the whole situation because savings is not a aspect of society anymore. And this is what affects everything around you. Everything.
You sounded like a politician, Karo. I really mean it. And it's a bit ironic that you said stuff about Keynes and at the same time you're wearing Louis Vuitton sunglasses.
Okay, so the Louis thing. Let me just, I've been kind of like upset that here at Hackers Congress, everybody's privacy LARPing. Nobody puts a goddamn mask on for years. I've been the only one with privacy level 1, and I'm just coming here, everybody making a joke. But it's been improving. I went to Riga, and like 50 people asked me, "Are you Gigi? Are you Gigi?" I'm like, "Bitcoin bacon," and it's just ridiculous. I'm consistent about my privacy because I care about my privacy, and I try to be neutral about privacy, but I got forced to, my hand was forced, so I don't want to talk about that part, but I remain consistent with my privacy at Hackers Congress and whenever I meet with Bitcoiners, and people can actually see when I trust them or not when I take the mask up when we go and eat or somewhere, anything else like that. So it's a lot more complex than just having that. And I these days I try to make privacy trendy. So all this shit here is just somehow to bring back the style to privacy. And it's like everybody like comes in with plebe clothing and everything. Like, okay, can't we just have some style? Is it like a sin? Like, you do whatever the fuck you want with your money, man. It is not like look at this Vlad got this beautiful designer shirt from what's her face? Gizon Mashi. Sorry, I can't. I've just probably butchered that one, but. If you made it, whatever, I don't care. If you're a plebe and you're saving money, don't care about if you're spending some sets on looking good. Do whatever the fuck you want. It's your money, your life. But keep fucking stacking sets and don't overspend ever. That's the whole point. And then you can be stylish with privacy, whatever. It just, makes sense.
After Mt. Gox collapsed, that was really the precipice of me saying, right, this has to change. We need a totally transparent exchanging system and base it on gold instead of fiat.
Vaultoro is the hard money exchange which helps you beat inflation with instant swaps between the best stores of value known to man, gold and Bitcoin. Unlike most exchanges, Vaultoro understands the importance of transparency and security. All gold holdings are secured in top-tier Swiss private vaults and fully insured against theft, fire, and more. Maximize your purchasing power today by going to vaultoro.com/Bitcoin Takeover. This is not financial advice, but gold has been humankind's most reliable store of value in the last 6,000 years. Do your own research. Use promotion code TAKEOVER for a one-time bonus of 1 gram of gold for the first 50 new customers buying gold with Bitcoin. Are you concerned that your friends, neighbors, or KYC exchange might know how much Bitcoin you own? It is time to take your financial privacy seriously with Wasabi Wallet, a free and open source wallet solution which makes use of mega coin joins to mix your coins with those of hundreds of other strangers. Thanks to the groundbreaking Wabi Sabi engine, your coins get divided in smaller, untraceable units, which grant you great anonymity for both hodling and spending. Download Wasabi Wallet 2.0 today at wasabiwallet.io and take advantage of the mega coin joins. It's free and it's open source, so don't trust, verify. What are you going to wear when Bitcoin hits $1 million? The same old $20 t-shirt? Try Maison Machi, the designer clothes made in Paris by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. They're not your average mass-produced sweatshop clothes. Moxin will ask for your measurements and tailor every piece of clothing according to the shape of your body, so you always look and feel great in your t-shirt, hoodie, or dress. It's all made in France by real artisans who also happen to be Bitcoiners, which is why Maison Moxin only accepts Bitcoin as payment for their clothes. Get a Maison Moxin t-shirt or hoodie today. It might even help you find a girlfriend. And once you do get a girlfriend, you can also buy her a Maison Moxin dress. Stop having fun looking poor and check out maisonmoxin.com. That's MaisonMaachi.com. Right, so shameless plug aside, what do you guys think about privacy?
Privacy is probably one of the most important things that we need to maintain in order to actually be able to be self-sovereign people. If we don't have privacy, we can't have control over our lives. So, yeah, privacy is an incredibly important thing. That said, I do push back against a couple of people on some privacy things, quite simply because privacy just for the sake of it, without any goal in mind, tends to be useless and is sometimes actually harmful. So I have seen people, for example, saying, okay, let's implement the same kind of privacy tech that's in Monero into the Bitcoin base chain. No, don't. If we can't count how many Bitcoin there are, we don't know how many Bitcoin there are. That would ruin Bitcoin.
That's accountability. It's like there are like 3 aspects to privacy that has to be met in order for Bitcoin to have base layer privacy, and that's impossible to achieve right now. I talked about with Adam Beck about this a few times. He said that I don't know what kind of commitments those are, but he said that those can be strong enough to prevent more issuance of more issuance of Bitcoin. But the 3 aspects of it is more a bit of philosophical also, but more actual, is that you need to be able to verify the base supply, how many Bitcoins there are. You need to be verify where are the Bitcoins located. And the other one is that you cannot issue more Bitcoins. So the thing is that you need to be verify where it is so that you cannot double spend. And that's why you need to have some sort of zero knowledge proof that you have Bitcoin. X amount, we don't know how much it is, but you have. And that's what need to be verifiable, in my opinion.
Yeah, so you're saying that we might implement zero knowledge proofs at one point in the future,
Probably.
but not in the form of Zcash with what they do, because it's not scalable and it's optional.
Fuck Zcash. Their way of implementing it was shabby. Some superior attacker even infiltrated the seance. Totally compromised. I don't really believe in it. So,
Zuko, if you're listening to this, please unblock me on Twitter.
yeah, I don't want to say anything about Zuko. He says one thing and he does the other a month later. I observed this at ZCon, but that's another story for later.
But think about his groceries, though.
Yeah. If he gonna get wrecked, he will have to go to the Aldi or the Lidl and then go to the sales section again. With the plebes.
Nothing wrong with being a pleb.
Yeah, so the story about Karo being on record for the trial with Hadlonaut was that he was mentioned at one point, and in the transcript he was actually written as Carlos Zagorus.
Carlos Zagorus or something.
Yeah, so you're famous right now, and you're part of the immutable history.
I'm not famous. Thank you very much. I'm not famous.
You are part of the history of Norway.
You're making things hard for me right now. So.
Right, so let's get back to political issues. We
no
discussed
political
about privacy.
stuff.
We discussed about
We
state.
can talk about Norway if you wanna, but I mean, the whole thing with Craig Wright being a fraud, he's a fraud. Craig Stephen Wright, if you watching this, you're a goddamn fraud, and you will be brought to justice in the court system that you try to use against Bitcoiners. Keep that in mind.
Yeah, so Craig, please don't sue me first. First of all, don't sue the show. I don't want to spend time in court. Sue this guy, but it's going to be hard identifying him. So I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Send me 1 Bitcoin from one of these addresses, and I'm going to believe you if you can. If you can't, at least, sign a message from the Genesis block. It's not hard. It takes like 30 seconds. It takes less effort than actually suing people and using the legal system to convince them. But yeah, I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. Do that, and I will believe you. Otherwise, meh.
See, and people say maxis are so harsh. We're not. We're quite reasonable. I've always been, well, not always, but since 2018, 2019, I've been a maxi. And I mean, so the hat I'm wearing is Bull Bitcoin, Bull Bitcoin's mission. And it's their new mission. There's a small select group of us. And do I want to say what the actual mission is? No, but I'm here to spread awareness about self-sovereignty and privacy and the importance of privacy and the importance of having a currency that is valuable. Is Bitcoin going to replace all of the currencies around all of the world? Probably not. And I think that that's actually a good thing because we still need small localized groups of currency. Not everything needs to be on the Bitcoin main chain. We can use Lightning networks. We can use Rings of Fire. We can use many other ways and methods. But we need to have local currencies. I really think that there's a few countries that will probably be the central reserve standard going forward once it's out of the reins of the central banks, which I think should happen as soon as possible. And that puts me in extreme danger saying that. But, I mean, look, if you're going to set the rules, you've got to play by them. And where does all of the money laundering happen, right? Ask those questions, start looking into it, and, ask, why do we have these predatory lending systems? Like, why are we harming individuals so that the very, very, very few at the top can benefit? Money should be about its usefulness, right? And it should be something that... it's not meant to be in the hands of the few. It's a tool. Money is simply a tool. It's meant to unlock, whatever it is that you're working on, and it's meant to extend it and make it broader. And it's a tool to unlock what you're working on so that you can share it with the world. So the minute we're censored, when we have censorship in our money, it's so harmful. And you look at the history of the Federal Reserve System and how predatory they are with the loans, the way the IMF operates and how reactive they've been toward El Salvador, the first country to take Bitcoin as make it currency. It's been over a year now. And I really applaud their effort. It just takes one. And that one has been going for a little bit longer than a year. And I'm really looking forward to some of the efforts around the globe to make Bitcoin a standard. And I think in the next, if I were to estimate, I don't know which countries, but countries that are really looking at the financial landscape and looking at the money printer and how what's the US debt clock at? 13 trillion or something ridiculous? You look in Canada, every single person is responsible for about $70,000 worth of the national debt. You can't pay that off in your lifetime and still buy a house. It's so predatory. So, yeah, is the solution burning it down? No. Is the solution replacing it? Maybe eventually. But in the interim, we've got to kind of work together. And I think I highly implore, if any countries are listening out there, consider, please, for the love of God, consider taking Bitcoin as currency because it exists now as a standard. You can utilize the El Salvador example. There's many different resources, and yeah, you should give it a shot. Why not?
Now, you also sounded like a politician. But this is an interesting topic. Let's talk about this. Do you think that top-down adoption coming from the governments is a good idea?
No.
In Bitcoin's case, that's what I mean. Obviously, it's a Bitcoin podcast.
Yep.
It's coercion. But you have to start somewhere. So like lots of people applauding what Nayib Bukele is doing in El Salvador. So, who am I to judge with the things? But I've seen some issues in El Salvador. I'm not really happy about those things, but I'm just gonna let people live and go. So, yeah, see what the hell is gonna happen. If it's gonna be a catastrophe, then probably some damage control is gonna be required.
By whom?
Yes, of course.
So, when I look at El Salvador, I actually see two distinct, very different things. I see the government pushing from above with things like their Chivo wallet, and I see grassroots movements coming from below. The stuff that's happening in El Zonte, Bitcoin Beach, the stuff that's happening with Mi Primer Bitcoin on Bitcoin education, those are the kinds of things I want to see happening more around the world in different places. But what's interesting is maybe those things wouldn't be pushed as strong as they are without having to fight against the top-down approach. So maybe in some ways the top-down approach actually encourages some of the bottom-up approach. And I think that's actually a really interesting thought because, yeah, the top-down approach is not right. The bottom-up approach is. But if the bottom-up approach gets encouraged by a top-down push, maybe it's actually something that is worth happening, despite the negatives.
I always consider that if a government wants Bitcoin to get big and wants citizens to adopt it, the best approach is to just ignore it and let the people figure this out. Because they will find out about it. And if the government never mentions it, it's a tacit way of encouraging. They don't mess up their international relations with other countries because there is a system where there are alliances and organizations of which they are part. And they're allowing people to prepare for the next phase of this economy. I'm not sure if it's going to be the same flavor of capitalism. It might, you're going to disagree with me on this, but yeah, you see something else emerging. I think it's going to be hyper capitalistic to the extent that it's anarchic. Maybe it will lead to huge corporations owning large amounts of Bitcoin. I think MicroStrategy is trying to head start, is trying to basically become that type of hyper corporations where I think they want to become a Bitcoin custodian, and people who buy shares want to get exposed to that reserve. And I'm not sure where this is heading. I'm not very happy about this type of concentration, but it's a fair game. Anyone can buy Bitcoins on the market.
I don't disagree that it's fair game, but currently the game is rigged. It's easy to make more money when you have money because of the systems that we have in place. So it's therefore easy at the moment for these companies who look forward a bit to be able to get a lot more Bitcoin than they fairly should be able to. It's interesting you use the word anarchic there. I wouldn't call it anarchic in the slightest when a large group of corporations suddenly control everything. I'd call that essentially the dystopian future that cyberpunk novels of the 1990s warned us about. Governments don't really exist anymore, and you've just got these corporations controlling everything with their corporate militaries and so on. That's a dystopian future. That's not the future I want to have. So to me, that's inherently some of the problems with our current system. The fact that you can have corporations growing and building their wealth just from the fact that they have wealth. And largely that's because of the way that money currently works. The closer you sit to the money printer, the easier it is for you to gain more money. So even though that's not possible in a hyper-Bitcoinized environment, it is possible until we reach that point. And that's an issue because it allows them to accumulate huge amounts of Bitcoin. I'm sure Michael Saylor's a nice guy. I'm sure MicroStrategy's a fairly decent company. I've not actually used their products, even though I am in the IT space. But, I don't like what I see there in terms of the amount of Bitcoin that they're accumulating. I don't like the power that potentially gives them.
I agree with that. If I were to get a loan, I could not get a loan against that loan and another loan and another loan to accumulate more fiat money to buy more Bitcoin.
Exactly. Yeah, they can, you can't. It's not a fair system. It's not a system which is equitable to all. So, I don't believe in equality of outcome. I don't think everyone should have the same result, but I think everyone should have equality of opportunity. The same rules should apply for you as to me, as to Michael Saylor. As long as the rules are the same, then we have a level playing field to work from. And in systems like Bitcoin, within Bitcoin, that's true. But in the externalities around Bitcoin, that's not yet true. And that's the kind of thing which I think we need to concentrate a lot more on and work a lot more towards.
But that's also problematic. Like in the case of a company, you can guarantee that you're going to pay back and offer something in return, like the assets of that company or the software or patents or whatever they have, because they're not developing open source software. They're working with government agencies. So possibly that's what they offer in exchange. But when you are an individual and you get a loan and you want to leverage the fiat system to get more loans, what can you offer? Like your life? Like a finger? Like those money lenders who cut your finger?
I would turn that question around and say, is it right and fair that they should be able to offer things like patents and other things which are purely created by the state? A patent, intellectual property, is a state-created concept. Companies themselves are a state-created concept. They exist because the state says they exist. There's a very different thing. If the four of us decided to get together and start working together, we don't actually have to form a company to do so. We can work together, we can do stuff, and we can achieve things. Alternatively, we can talk to the government and say, hey, please give us a piece of paper that says we are now a company, and that company has special rights and special privileges. And I'm against that as a fundamental concept, because that's essentially state-controlled personhood. They're giving personhood to non-person entities entirely as a fiction of the state itself.
So let me summarize this in very simple terms. I said it's unfair that not everyone can get over-leveraged and borrow more money than they can pay back. And what you said in return was that it's unfair that anyone gets this, and it should not be the system. It should not be the status quo to which we refer.
Exactly.
So basically, nobody should be able to do that.
Correct.
In a fair system.
In a fair system, either everyone can or no one can, and I don't see any reasonable way that everyone can. So therefore, no one should be able to.
I have a counterpoint. I think there is nothing wrong with business. There is nothing wrong with making money. There is nothing wrong with countries forming together in alliances. What's wrong is heavy top-down red tape. Big government. That's bad. It needs to be lean and mean, much like a large startup. Companies should be working together. We form strategic alliances. A company provides a shield, and it's very important because it protects the individuals behind it, rather than the individuals being sued. The company is sued, and so because it has personhood, it allows the individuals behind it to take a little bit more risk. And it gives you a little bit more breathing room in order to be able to build. So I strongly advocate for the company model. Again, not big company model. We need to be smaller companies, leaner, working together. And I personally think we should be Bitcoin only, but that's just my opinion.
What's your take, Karo?
I agree with them. Government usually interferes so much with the free market's operations that, giving permission for companies just to exist is already like coercing you to, to take part in the whole bureaucratic process. And, if I want to start, let me just give you an example. So if I, as an individual, would like to work at a company that doesn't want to, put me in as like an employee, then I need to get registered in my country as a individual entrepreneur, or create a company and have my shareholders or something or whatever to be able to pay taxes. Because if it is not an employment-based system, which is very, very strict, it gives too much rights sometimes to the employee, and sometimes the employee can take hostage over the company through these unions and everything. Then the issue becomes that then the company is unable to to expand or to make profit. And when it tries to have individual contractors or something connected to the company, then you need to have special rules that you cannot pay as an individual any taxes, because individual cannot pay company tax or whatever, cannot be all company, cannot do this and that, and then the whole problem because they should. But there should be absolutely no taxes at all because, every company should be able to, contribute this way to the bullshit, the whole GDP thing. But, just to keep expanding, affording the, expansion of the company, or me just, to do investments or, or to like expand my own business as an entrepreneur, for example. So yeah, it was all made, to make taxation more legit for the government and then enforce it. And then have the national tax office or something get on your ass if you're not paying it. So, but what you shouldn't be doing. But anyway, it's just my opinion. So
You're saying that you shouldn't pay or you shouldn't not pay?
You shouldn't pay. It's all coercion. It's like imagine this. In Hungary, I pay 33% income tax. Then there's 27% value-added tax. And then I pay 20%, or actually 30% in my opinion, the inflation. How much does the goddamn government robs me in Hungary? More than fucking 70%, which pisses me off. Which people need to fucking wake up in Hungary because I'm getting robbed 24/7 by the government and all the things. It's like pissing me off. I'm just feeling like I don't keep it in Bitcoin my pay because I get paid in Bitcoin, thank God. So it is kind of like the thing, but everybody needs to live somehow. So that's the thing. If you are getting paid in Bitcoin, you already fucking made it. You're okay. So if shit hits the fan, you can just get the company to pay you while you're abroad or something, while you're fleeing your country, whatever. Just and then you need to just deal with somehow that you're gonna be like not paying taxes somehow. So I don't know. It's complicated.
You wanted to say something, Ben, but after that we should talk about taxes and to which extent they're stealing from you.
Fuck taxes.
So, actually, I had a couple of things that were going through my head. Probably the first one is actually pushing back a little bit against the small companies are okay, big companies aren't. How do you define that and where do you draw the line? I think the problem is as soon as you have a line, the line can be pushed, which is why I'm simply against the idea of companies in general. I understand the protection that it offers. I understand the value of having that kind of protection, but I don't think on the balance of everything that it's actually worth it. I think the negatives outweigh the positives of having companies at all, rather than just individuals doing things. With regard to taxes, I agree. Fuck government taxes. I think having any kind of centralized government who says we're going to take this money from you is a bad thing. I'm not against people collectively coming together and saying, within our township, our community, or whatever, we're all going to put a little bit in for this particular service because it's more efficient than people paying for things individually. And I think that's a distinction which needs to be made clearly, because the second thing can look a lot like taxes, but it's entirely voluntary and you've got the choice. You either pay it or you don't participate in that community. And that's a fair choice to give to people.
So some thoughts on that. When it comes to taxes, why do we still have income tax? When was it created and why was it created? I invite people to look into that. You might want to go back as far as, 1913, I think? Anyway, look at when income tax was instituted. Look at the time period in which it was supposed to have been instituted. It was supposed to be temporary. 90 some odd years.
That's in the US, because
right?
in other European countries, for example, in Romania, we had what we call zeciuiala, which meant that the 10th part of what you were making, you had to pay to the state. And they had like a collector who was coming into your house or whatever and asking you for 10% of what you made last year. And even for that, people would revolt and they would start riots and they would refuse to work and stuff like that. Today, we have 45% income tax, right? 19% VAT. It's a lot more than in Hungary. Yeah. For the income tax, not for the VAT. But anyway,
what the fuck?
What I'm saying right now is that what our grandfathers or maybe grandfathers found horrible and unsustainable and just terrible, like stealing from them, we find pretty normal, only because I think they made taxation easier. If you get paid, they take their slice when you get paid, so you don't have to think about it.
They take their slice at every turn. You have income tax, you have sales tax, you have value-added tax in some cases. You have estate tax, you have corporation tax, you have, when it comes property tax, right? Like, Yes. Well, that's estate tax. And like, why would you see in Canada, we don't have those as well, but like everywhere you turn, oh, now there's sales tax and now there's additional GST, and then like it's just tax and tax and tax and tax and tax and tax. And when you print the money, why do you need so much tax? Can't you just print more?
No.
Oh.
So
Wait
from
a minute,
an economic
there might
point
be
of view,
something there.
you need to create demand for the money that you print. So you need to balance the system in a way that you get your money back and prove that it's useful. So if the state prints it and then wants it back, it creates both supply and demand, which makes the people believe that it has value. That's how it works.
Yeah, they're essentially just increasing the velocity of the money, but purposeless increase in the velocity of the money. So essentially by saying, you need to pay us this money and we are creating this money to hand out to you, it makes the money move. And according to Keynesian economics, money moving is the most important thing, not just how much there is. So anyone who follows that Keynesian model is going to think, hey, that's great. Of course, they're all fucking insane, but yeah.
That's how you get companies with huge cash flow, but actually no liquidity.
Exactly. Huge cash flow can be achieved simply by shuffling the money from one end of the company to the other over and over and over again. And, it's huge amounts of cash flow. I used to work for a large multinational. I won't name the company, but I'm sure some of them are actually watching this right now. And they manufacture in China, headquarters in Japan, very large sales offices in Asia, US, and Europe. And you can imagine the amount of internal money shuffling that happens at a company like that. They can make the numbers look like whatever they want the numbers to look like. Yeah.
It sounds like shitcoins.
Yeah.
Basically,
fiat is a shitcoin.
They create it and then they fake the volumes and make it look like they have $1 billion market cap when in fact they have like $10,000 worth of transactions and just a few people moving the coins from one exchange to the other.
Yeah, I mean, right now you can make Vlad coin, say there's 20 billion of them, sell me one for one Czech crown, and all of a sudden it's worth 20 billion Czech crowns. So
market cap, yes. Even though we're both broke.
Yeah.
None of us has any money.
Exactly.
In reality.
Sorry.
That's a scam. That's a scam.
Does your wife still believe in you? Okay, delicate question. Anyway, taxation. What's next? What is the most statist argument possible? Something that we want to get rid of.
Who's gonna pay for the roads?
Okay, so counter to that, if you want to build things of value, just don't be predatory about it. So look again at El Salvador and their 10% value-added tax that they're looking to build with a Bitcoin bond.
Are you an ambassador of El Salvador by any chance?
No, I'm not.
You should be.
Maybe I should.
They should pay you for this.
I love what they're doing.
Bitcoin.
In Bitcoin, yes. Yes. Hi. Potential future ambassador here. In all seriousness, I can't say the word. I really appreciate what they're doing and the fact that they've taken a chance on making Bitcoin a currency. Like I said, it just takes one country, and now that model can be utilized all throughout the world. So perhaps, if you look at some of the countries that still have gold in their vaults.
Not Canada.
Yeah, I've heard some rumors that we don't. I've heard also some rumors that perhaps we might just have maple syrup in there. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. But, it's good to sustain yourself during winter, I suppose. And it's unique. And, sure, maybe that's interesting.
Does it expire? I don't think so. You can hold it for 100 years. It's going to be just as good. It's like honey.
I heard Canadians bleed maple syrup, though. So, it's not a limited supply.
See, I've never been a fan of maple syrup personally. I find it too sweet.
Blood type, so it's not fungible, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
1 liter of A-type syrup is not equivalent with 0-type syrup.
This is true.
Try it out?
No, no, thank you. I am good. All right. So to make it simple, if any other nation should happen to be listening to this, take a look at El Salvador, what they've done. 10% value-added tax. If people want to buy something, They pay 10% tax. It goes into your country's coffer. Anything else above and beyond, it's predatory. Why tax people on their income? It just makes them want to flee your country. Like it's, like 70%. Like that's ridiculous. And you look at inflation. Oh, inflation. Gee, it kind of hit us by surprise. Are you kidding me? You look at all the events that went into it. No.
They knew about it.
Well, come on. Of course they did. And like the whole thing, the only thing that they can do in the fiat system is print more money to, you have bigger debt and you have more money. Bigger debt, more money. It's a debt-based system, and that is inherently wrong.
It's a death-based system.
There we go. I don't know. But I mean, this is why I was personally so interested in Bitcoin, is because it's something of value. You can measure it. It's something that that there's a certain amount. It's on a public blockchain, the Bitcoin blockchain, which is the strongest in the world in terms of proof of work, all the energy backing it. It's very important that, again, if anyone's watching and you're playing along with the drinking game, take a drink every time I say important. But it's, I don't think the whole answer is burn it all down, build it all up again. I think that there is some wiggle room, and I think that we do need to work with some of the existing power structures. And I think that there's some countries out there that they get it. They see that their citizens are not happy. They see that, okay, they feel kind of bad for taking so much. And, you look at some of the leaders that are take communism, for example. It's supposed to be all about, the greater good. And I imagine you might have some thoughts on this. If you look at socialism.
Since I'm Hungarian, I need to add the compulsory fuck communism comment.
Yeah, we invaded Hungary in 1958, I think. Because you guys had a revolt and the USSR did not like it, so Romania provided troops. But for the record, we did not join the Czechoslovakian invasion in 68, so...
That was us. I'm sorry. Or not.
See, this is why I stay out of politics. It's complicated and murky,
this is
murky
mostly
waters.
History. It's European history. We have a long history of fighting our neighbors and hating them and joking about it. It's how we relieve stress, I guess. We tell them about, remember that one time when that part of your country was ours?
Yep.
Ha ha.
I have a good friend, German guy, who every time a French person says something even slightly annoying, he says, "I'm going to drive fucking tanks into Paris again." That usually ends the conversation.
Okay.
That's so terrible. Like, why? Why are we fighting? Why are we fighting wars? Like, let's freaking just focus on building the solution. Like, just build. Just focus on building.
But how? That's where the fight starts. How do we build it?
Make Hungary great again.
Oh, no. See? Take politics out of it.
It was only great under the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Sorry.
Focus on building. And I think, does there need to be one leader? No, but there needs to be it's a slippery slope. Like, socialism in principle sounds good. But what happens is so socialism, equal playing field, great. Like we're gonna share things. It's a sharing economy. And then, we're gonna take a little bit more, and then all of a sudden, whoop, you got communism. Like, seriously. And it happens just like that. And the people on the top, they benefit. And the people on the bottom, they're stuck in breadlines. And they're starving. And they can't feed their families. And they're homeless. And they also, we're going to take that shirt off your back too. Because, it should belong to us. We're a little chilly. I mean, come on. We can do better than that. Like, let's just focus on sovereign money, sovereign individuals, sovereign states. Move forward.
What about no states?
Exactly. So I was going to say I agree on everything except some of the terminology there. So if there is a government who is saying, I'm a little chilly, I'm going to take that shirt off your back, that is not socialism. By definition, socialism is a system whereby the means of production, distribution, and exchange are controlled by the people. If the people do not control the means of distribution, production, and exchange, it is not socialism by definition. So I think it's one of those problems where you get caught up in terminology rather than actually thinking about what's going on. And I do far prefer to focus on, the realities of things rather than focusing on the terms that you use to describe them. I think communism, for example, is basically a utopian dream that cannot exist, largely because it has money. It has no money. Whereas a system which does have money and free markets, you can then start to look at some of these ideas and discuss them in different ways. So exactly that, no state. The reason I would say that every attempt at socialism has failed so far, and I think actually Orwell pointed this out really well in Animal Farm, is that there are people in charge. Animal Farm is not a book about how socialism is bad. Animal Farm is a book about how the USSR is fucking terrible. It was written right at the start of the formation of the USSR, and he saw where it was going. He saw what was going to happen, and he was right. The pigs took control, and it was just the same as when the farmer was in control before. So, I don't think it's a valid thing to say, oh, this system is bad, and then just use kind of this all-encompassing name, because it can mean different things in different places. If you look at Rojava, northeastern Syria, the autonomous region there, they call themselves a libertarian socialist state. They are the furthest thing from the USSR you could possibly imagine. They are decentralized, autonomous, individual, small groups of people who get together to essentially create large-scale politics as an emergent property of smaller-scale interactions. And, regardless of what name you give it, I think that's a better thing than what was happening in the USSR. So the fact that both of them happen to use that same word, socialist, it makes the term almost useless.
So what do you guys think about guns?
Oh, no.
Yes, please.
Boy, you're really asking all the hard questions, aren't you? I think that every individual on the face of this planet should know how to use a gun. You should have one in order to protect yourself. Like a talk I gave a couple of years ago focused a little bit on the solution side in the original formation of the United States, the original Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and basically how that protects, like the Founding Fathers. I mean, this is some 250 odd years ago, and it's somewhat obscured in history, but I believe they'd be rolling in their graves if they saw the state of the USA right now.
I think it's 250 years, not 500.
Did I say 500?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway. But we see this pattern throughout history. We see a group form, so we see a government form, a state form, under the guise of protection, and then all of a sudden it gets too big. So at some point, once that organization is allowed to stay that big, it becomes predatory by nature because it needs to feed itself in order to stay alive. And this is not good. I mean, so that's why I advocate for, smaller groups working together, more nation states working together. And there's nothing wrong with alliances. I think alliances are important. You need your trading nations, you need your trading routes aligned, you need all of those things. And I probably am sounding a little bit like a politician, but realistically, there are people who want to, they see a way and they want to make that way. And usually those are people in charge of companies. And I think that that's a good thing. They want to build something. They want to make a product that's going to make something better. They see a need in a market and they see the product that they have being a fit to solve that problem. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with making money. There's nothing wrong with any of these things. And I think we should be encouraging these things. And that's why I say I'm apolitical, because I believe that we should be focusing on building our future, not figuring out the war gaming behind the scenes, like, oh, who's going to be in power over here and over there, and let's make sure that we're the biggest and the strongest.
I mean, the fact that you have opinions about what other people should be doing, that's political.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so officially I'm apolitical.
So yeah, I would actually really push back on the companies or the people in charge of the companies are wanting to do good things. I really don't think most of them are. I think the vast majority of companies are made by people who want to make money, and they do not give a crap what the company is doing. Especially in the smaller startup scene, you're going to see a lot more people who really do actually want to produce things, and they've got a mission, they've got a goal. Once you get to the larger end, I just honestly don't believe that. And I think largely our current structures incentivize that kind of behavior. They incentivize people not caring about what they're producing and what they're doing. You also said something about like trading nations and so on. Okay, what is a nation? Because to me, I think you can't have a nation without a centralized government for that nation. And I find that is the problematic thing to begin with. So I don't imagine a future or I don't imagine a good future which has nations who are trading and cooperating and doing things. I imagine a future where smaller autonomous regions of people are getting together and doing things, and large-scale politics is purely an emergent property of those smaller groups. It could be as small as your local neighborhood gets together and discusses things, and they have representatives who maybe go and discuss things at the city level, and the city goes and discusses things for the regional level, and so on. I live in a small village in Germany, not too far from the Czech border. I know some people who live in a medium-sized town, not too far from the Dutch border. Both of us are in Germany. Both of us are theoretically under the German federal government. But the village I live in has far more in common with the Czech Republic, and the town he lives in has far more in common with the Netherlands, purely on the fact that they're geographically located near each other. Why should Why should that be Germany? Why should Germany exist as a nation when that is the case? I think it makes far more sense to just have these smaller groups and have decisions that happen and create the large scale out of that, rather than trying to have this top-down approach of states at all.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and it's super under-discussed, I guess.
It is.
But I want to differentiate right now between nation and state, because I don't think they're synonymous. You can have a nation without a state. You can have a state where nationalism exists without the intervention of the state. I think the nation is just a group of people with a common history, a common language, and some common elements that bring them together, like traditions. But they don't necessarily need a state to enforce them.
So I wouldn't disagree with that. I think that does exist, but I think it's also relatively fluid. So there are no hard and fast, if that's what you call a nation, there are no hard and fast borders between nations. People near the edges tend to exist in multiple nations simultaneously. You've got for example, the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation that existed for quite a while. And in a way, you could look at that as one of those definitions of nation being more than one country. But I really... I'd say it's a useful term to talk about national identity and language and similar culture and shared beliefs and ideals, but it shouldn't have any structural meaning. It shouldn't have any anything where you say, okay, because we are this nation, we are doing this thing, or we are behaving this way. So when it comes to political organization, I don't think the nation is relevant in that context. I think it's a good thing to have. I think the idea of having a shared culture and shared language and that kind of thing, it's a nice thing, it's a useful thing, it's a human thing, and there's nothing wrong with it. I just don't think it should play any part in actual political action and behavior.
Well, but that's where statesmen get involved, and they're like, yes, we have these common elements, let's form a state, we promise you that you'll live a good life, we're gonna give you all the safety you want, we're gonna protect you with this army, you're gonna work for us basically, but we promise you that you're free people.
And all of that is a huge load of bullshit. I mean, of course, absolutely they do that and they promise that, but none of that is true in the slightest. I mean, really what they end up doing is, even if they have the best of intentions, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So as soon as they have power, they will abuse it. I don't remember the exact wording, but I remember on an interview a long time ago, somebody asked Andreas Antonopoulos, what would you do if you were made emperor of the world? And he said something like, I'd make it so that it were impossible for anyone to be emperor of the world. And that's something I very, very strongly agree with. If there's any system in place which can centralize power, those are the systems I want to try to tear down and get rid of. interestingly, actually, something you were saying earlier, Alexandra, there. You were saying we don't have to necessarily tear down the systems. We can work with them. I would propose a third alternative. Don't necessarily tear them down. Don't necessarily work with them. Build alternatives that are better and decentralized, and wither away the state. So that's a term created by Marx. It's a socialist term, but the withering away of the state is the state losing its influence and its power and its capabilities because you have built better alternative systems.
Also, its relevance.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to serve a purpose. If you manage to deliver the same service at a lower price, people are going to gravitate
exactly.
towards it.
I don't
it's
think
super capitalistic, if you ask me.
I don't think we even need to, for example, get rid of central banks. I think central banks will disappear on their own as Bitcoin grows.
It is where we are. The parallel polis.
Exactly.
The concept.
The parallel polis. Yep.
And at this point, I should thank the people from Paralelni Polis because they let me use their studio, which is soundproofed, which has nice lights and nice background and chairs and the tripod for my camera. So thank you, Katka, and everyone from Paralelni Polis. Let's get to some other controversial topics. Let's talk drugs. Do you think those should be like who's in charge of telling you what should you use and what should you not use on your own body?
Essentially, no one. But you have the interesting question, which I always think about, which is children. So, how much influence should parents have over their children's behavior? I think that's actually a really difficult question, and that's where a lot of discussions can happen. But when it comes to adults doing what they choose to do, I don't think anybody should have the right to tell you what you do and don't put into your body. If somebody wants to go and shoot up heroin, they should not have any impediment to do that, other than a bunch of people saying, don't be really, really stupid. This is going to harm you. This is dangerous. Here, take a look at all this information. This is a bad thing to do. But if they then go to choose to go and do it, then, okay, they've chosen to take that risk. They've chosen to go and do that. So, yeah, that's my general view.
Yeah, so let me argue against that with a quote from a very smart man who might be a genius, who basically invented a different set of rules for physics and everything else. And he basically said that the ownership of child porn has lower effects on society than the use of heroin. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean. That's Vitalik. It's a famous tweet that he deleted. Yeah. So basically the implication here is that when you use hard drugs, you might affect the ones around you. That's, in a nutshell, what he was trying to say in a very unfortunate way.
But to that is an entirely different thing. Driving your car and crashing it into a building is a problematic thing that you should not do. Whether you did it because you were on drugs or not on drugs is irrelevant. You did that bad thing. So that's on the user to be responsible for themselves. I've taken a lot of different substances in my life. You name it, I've probably tried it at least once. And I am responsible for my actions. If I did something stupid, then I have to take responsibility for doing that stupid thing. We allow alcohol to be solved, and people do really, really stupid stuff on alcohol due to the lowering of inhibitions that alcohol causes. If we're willing to allow that, why are we not willing to allow it for LSD, ecstasy, heroin, methamphetamine? I'm not saying I want to do all of those different things, but I believe people should have the choice to do all of those different things.
Where do you pull the line?
You mean draw the line?
Yeah, I don't draw a line on any particular drugs. The question is...
No, as in, if you're doing drugs, where do you pull the line?
Like, how much is too much?
I don't really understand the question.
Like, when you're doing drugs, how much is too much that it now impedes on everybody else's well-being?
I mean, that's again a personal choice. It's your actions that matter. So, if somebody takes a small...
Who has the right to...
Nobody.
Impede upon it?
Nobody. If I did a small amount of methamphetamine, for example, no, I'm not going to do methamphetamine. I'm not interested in methamphetamine, just for anyone listening to this. But
show your teeth to the camera.
Yeah, look, teeth are fine. Yeah. absolutely fine. If I did a small amount of methamphetamine and went upstairs and, interacted with people, maybe, I'd be a bit more hyperactive and I'd be a bit more chatty and that kind of thing. If I did a huge amount of methamphetamine, maybe I'd have some kind of psychotic break and go and punch people, But the amount is different for different people. Maybe the amount that it takes for me is different than the amount it takes for Vlad there. And that's not something we should be regulating. That's not something we should be deciding. Quite simply, people really should get to know their own limits exactly as we do with alcohol. We don't say, okay, after you've had 4 standard drinks, you're not allowed to drink anymore. We don't make laws like that. And we shouldn't make laws like that for any other substance either.
All right. I'm going to share something that I've never shared publicly. Substances are tricky things. We've got alcohol, we've got drugs, and unfortunately some people don't know where to draw the line. I've always been able to have a drink and walk away. That's been fine. But, I really don't want to talk about this, but I think it's important. Take a drink. I started out as a model when I was about 13, and I developed an eating disorder. I've had it for about 20 years. It's pretty much in remission now. But it's something that is a really hard line to walk, because you've got casting agents telling you, like, get thinner, get thinner, get thinner. You're a little bit underweight, but yeah, we need you. Like, the ideal runway model is basically a hanger walking down the runway. And I'm not saying like all body shapes are beautiful and like, eat whatever you want and have ice cream for breakfast every day. No, there is a middle way. Your body is a temple. You should treat it as such. But when you've got external pressure saying, you need to be smaller, you need to be thinner, you need to be like, oh, could you grow your hair out? Could you cut your hair? Like, it's just, you want a hard business? Get into the modeling business. Anyway. So yes. Well, exactly. And that's one of the ways that a lot of models keep slim is, you see a lot of smoking and you see a lot of, some models fast, but you see like a lot of just like not eating and taking like methamphetamines or other things. And, there's a lot of caffeine and it's just, there's so much external pressure. And like, if you want to keep working, that's kind of what you have to do. That's not something I did. And so that's why I've kind of had like waves of like, I've worked in the industry for a little bit, kind of on the periphery. I've done a few things. Some of it's out there, some of it's more private. But it's hard, because the reason I wanted to talk about this is when you have something like that, it's different from being an alcoholic, because you can say, okay, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to take drugs, I'm going to take it day by day. But when it comes to food, you have to keep eating. You have to eat to sustain yourself. So, like, what is enough? Like, do you have like a little bit? Do you have a lot? If you've got somebody saying, do you really need that piece of cake? Like,
I'm going to have cake after I finish with this, just so you
Good.
know.
Good. So.
And a glass of beer and a shot of vodka.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Because I'm fat.
You're not fat at all. My goodness.
The samurai people make fun of me because there's a picture of me when I'm sitting on a panel and it shows like I have a tummy. So basically they zoomed in on that and they're like, look at this guy.
All right.
They even have stickers with me.
Stop that. Everyone is doing that. Freaking stop it. You have no idea what kind of pressure people are under. Just like let people be. And, when it comes to drugs, like, I don't know what the example is. Do we have an external body regulating? I think maybe we have like a regulation in terms of like the amount of particular substances. Like in Canada, one of the good things that Canada is doing is we have a pretty healthy medicinal cannabis industry. I mean, it's also bad because you see pot shops on pretty much every corner, and you can buy the recreational stuff, you can buy the medicinal stuff. I personally abstain because it's something that I can't verify, even though like they say that it's lab verified. So I just choose not to, because I choose to be a little bit more zen with that. And if I need, well, I don't want to be in a position where, yeah, like, is it something that I'm taking in order to, like, I really feel like I've come to a position, and this is one of the ways that I kind of got through my eating disorder, is you kind of learn where your center is. And you kind of and you learn to get grounded, and you do that through exercise and breathing and moving and all sorts of things. And that's something I spoke about here in my talk, like the process of that. And a lot of it is related to building as well, too. So you kind of get comfortable in your own body again. And that's a hard thing, especially as speaking from experience as someone who's been told, like, oh, you're too fat. Oh, you're too skinny. Oh, you're not tall enough. Oh, you're too tall. Like,
Sounds like a Britney Spears song. You want a piece of me? That's what it's called.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good song.
I think we're missing one thing here, which makes this panel a bit too one-sided, in my opinion: a recovering addict. Because people who suffer from polysubstance addictions going through a much different things in their life, in my opinion. And looking through what is going on in the US in many major cities and even in Europe in some places, the homeless population does drugs without limits, and it is destroying cities and everything. So it's very, very difficult, since I also know people who are going through these things and affected by it. And it's very, very hard to like listen to those things when they say like, okay, you should maybe try it, but with moderation. But the thing is that once you start trying it, then you're unable to do the moderation anymore.
Oh, I really have to push back on that. So there's been a lot of studies done, and I actually have to say, this is an area I do have some expertise in. I wrote a book about LSD, for example, but there's a lot of interesting studies out there about how addiction forms, and it's largely a social phenomenon and not a substance problem. So people abuse drugs because their life is crap, and then they tend to abuse more. And yes, they do become dependent on the drug. But if those people,
that is correct. Yes,
if those people are in a better
since
situation,
the environment forces them to start abusing the drugs.
The thing is, you can abuse drugs in a not so bad environment, and you are far less likely to become addicted. There was this incredible study called nicknamed Rat Park, where they basically gave some rats in cages the option of normal water or water with heroin, and the rats went for both initially, and then started using the heroin water because hey, it's heroin, and they kept using it. But then the researcher thought, hold on, these little rats, they live in a cage. Their life kind of sucks. So they created Rat Park, this wonderful environment for rats. The rats had all the food they wanted, all the sex they wanted, male and female rats living together. It was basically the perfect environment for rats. And the same situation with the water, normal water, heroin water. They went more for the normal water. They didn't need the heroin. And I think we have societal problems. And we do have serious drug abuse problems in a lot of countries. And I don't think we can blame the drugs as much as the environment that we are creating for these people.
So basically this means, if you're listening to this, get a girlfriend. Yeah, you. Most likely 90% of my audience, more like 95, is male.
More sex, more fun, and you won't need the drugs.
Or you need to fix the money first. Because without fixing the money, we're going to keep seeing the middle classes pushed down to lower class, and then to basically homelessness. And then
fix yourself first.
Yes.
Fix yourself first, but if you can't fix yourself, try fix the system. So, this is the main thing. Because, this is actually a bit bad, in my opinion, to say, like, try fix yourself. So the whole thing is that since there can be issues when an individual is unable to fix himself because the system is so broken that it perpetuates the issue. And then you can have a really fucking hard time to fix yourself.
They're fixing the system. They're actually ending up reflecting their frustrations on the system because they did not fix themselves.
I guess. But
yeah, I don't think anyone's saying it's easy. I don't think we're saying, we'll just make everything great and then there's no more drug abuse problems. I don't think anyone is saying that. We have those problems. They exist in our society, and I think those people do need help, and we need to be, in some way, as a society, providing help to those people. To go back to the previous topic, I don't think we need a government to do it. I think we can do it collectively as a society. We can come together and organize help for these kinds of people. So, I'm not trying to downplay the problems of drug abuse, and especially drug abuse amongst, homeless people or the poor within our societies. all I'm saying is, the drug abuse is not the main problem to be looked at. The problem, if we fix the other things, then it's easier to then address the drug problems, rather than trying to say, hey, let's concentrate on drugs and that will automatically solve everything, because it won't. It's not going to fix anything.
Yeah, so hit the crack, not the crack pipe.
Oh, no. I just wanted to say, in terms of like people listening and getting a girlfriend, and like, you can't put your own health onto someone else. I agree. You must fix yourself first. You've got to come from a place of strength. And once you're there, don't settle for a girlfriend. Bitcoin plebs and remnant listening.
Get 2 girlfriends.
No.
Start a harem.
No, my goodness. Okay, so seriously, get
your girlfriend a girlfriend.
60 virgins,
No, get a wife, start a family. That's how you build.
Oh, I agree with that. That's what I'm working on.
Good.
But I need to get a girlfriend first. So I'm
Step
a
one.
hypocrite, I'm telling people to fix themselves and get a girlfriend, but I haven't done this myself. So I'm like Karl Marx.
I'm married, 2 kids, so, sorry, ladies, I'm already taken. Yeah.
Lost opportunities.
Right, so what is left and what is right?
Oh. A contradiction.
Maybe that's a question for next time.
So this is something I was thinking about right at the start, and I'd kind of forgotten we hadn't even discussed it yet. Ownership of things. We have to be cognizant of the fact that realistically, if you think you can own anything at all, if anything at all is up for sale, then we have a problem. Realistically, there are some things which must remain in the commons. Where you draw that line is really the determinant of how far left or how far right you are, politically speaking. If you, for example, believe that it's possible to own the air that we are breathing right now, and Paralelni Polis should be charging us to breathe the air in here, then you're essentially a hyper-capitalist. If you believe that absolutely nothing should be owned whatsoever and everything should be communal property and so on, you're pretty much a communist. So realistically, the line has to be drawn somewhere in between those 2 extremes. And usually most people who would consider themselves relatively capitalist draw it somewhere, closer to the air end of the spectrum, but not all the way over, because that's ridiculous. Most people who would call themselves socialist draw it closer to the nothing can be owned, but nowhere, not all the way over, because again, that's ridiculous. So left and right is often, but not entirely, about simply what you consider acceptable to be owned. Can you own other human beings as slaves? Generally not. I think most of us here would probably agree that's a terrible thing. Can you own a river which has water flowing through it that other people further down on the river, that the part that you don't own, are going to be influenced by? There's going to be some disagreements there. Can you own intellectual property? In my opinion, no, because intellectual property is created by governments and therefore, shouldn't exist. But, other people will say, yeah, intellectual property is a valid thing that should be able to be owned and sold and transferred and protected and controlled. So ownership is, I think, where you really draw the left-right distinction.
I think in order to be sovereign citizens, we need to be able to own something. Whether that's land, whether that's just a home of our own, like a farm or something that we can call like our place. And the concept of citadels are quite interesting, because I see that as a gathering place, that there's some kind of partial ownership in it. And it's something that we can go collectively. It exists. We own it. It's ours. But we have to contribute. And I think if you're not contributing to something, you very rapidly get the tragedy of the commons argument. And that's the other side of socialism that's, and it's rough, because you have to have people that are, respectful of the environment that they're in. Like, again, Paralelni Polis is a wonderful example of how socialism could possibly work in its good ways. It's a beautiful commons. It's well maintained. There are people who have specific functions here. There's no like leader. There's kind of a group that are in charge, and that's really interesting because it unlocks, the security and the safety of the collective, but it's not this complete unmanaged chaos. And I've seen other spaces around the world that are, it seems good, like, oh, we'll just like chip in a little bit, but there's no rhyme or reason with it. And I think that you need to have a plan. You need to have some kind of a strategy in order to make this collective experiment work. So that's all I have to say about that.
No comment.
Okay, so now that I compromised you morally, I'm pretty sure that I made you say stuff that will make you unemployable in a non-Bitcoin world. If you want to get a normie job once again, you're pretty much doomed. So let me also destroy you in the Bitcoin space. What's your favorite shitcoin?
Depends how you define favorite, because I don't think any shitcoins have any long-term viability. I don't think any of them are that interesting from a holistic perspective. But, there have been some interesting technological stuff done, which, as a technologist, I look at it and go, hey, that's cool. I can't actually see how it's useful. So just to give one example, Mimblewimble, I think, is a really cool technology. I think Mimblewimble coin is a shitcoin, like everything else. There's no, I don't see any value in holding it. I don't see value in using it. But just purely from a technological standpoint, if I had to pick one, I'll say Mimblewimble.
Yeah, you have that on Litecoin.
Yeah. Yeah, which is yet another shitcoin that I don't care about. So, yeah.
Karo.
Well, my stance is that you should 51% attack every shitcoin that is not Bitcoin. Thank you very much.
What if it's proof of stake?
Fuck that shit.
Actually, I'm going to agree. I'm going to agree and expand.
Stake, not proof of stake. Thank you.
I'm going to agree and expand on the you should 51% attack the shitcoins. I actually think all of them have a legitimate, valid reason to exist, because I don't think you should be able to create any.
No.
I don't think you should be able to create any authoritarian dictate to say that they can't exist. But equally, you have every right, and I would even say a moral obligation, to then attack and destroy them, because they are bad things for society. They are bad things for humanity. But nobody should stop them from existing because that's an authoritarian dictate.
It's not even destruction because you play by the rules. The system allows the 51% majority to change the rules of the latest blocks. So if you do that in a sustained way, you'll make it unusable for the others, but useful for yourself, which means that it's going to lose value in relation to others. So basically, you will have used the resources to only make it useful for yourself and therefore make it useless for the rest of the world.
Exactly. Yep. 100%.
But it's not destruction. It's more like selfish appropriation.
Mine blocks and then sell, dump, buy more Bitcoin. No, maybe that's theft. I don't know. Is that morally acceptable even? I don't even think so.
Just
it's
name
like,
a shitcoin, Karo. Just don't.
I don't have any. I don't have any shitcoin that I care about. It's all of them suck balls.
What
I don't care.
What was your first shitcoin?
XRP.
XRP.
I'm sorry for you.
I managed to dump it, so yeah, all good. Oh no, wait. There's still the 20 XRP that is locked in on the wallet, which is mandatory to create a wallet.
I feel sorry for you, man. Like, I'm gonna have to watch this microphone after the interview and take a shower, burn my clothes. Not this one. It's nice.
That's a good shirt. That's solid.
So, Alexandra, what's your favorite shitcoin?
I had to think long and hard about this. I think my favorite shitcoin is Monopoly money.
Monopoly money.
Mm-hmm.
You're avoiding the question, but okay. I'm pretty sure there's a shitcoin that's called Monopoly.
No. Any fiat-based currency is monopoly money, if you think about it.
Yeah, but we're talking about crypto here, you know?
I know.
Stuff like
crypto.
Casino gambling.
Right. So, poker chips.
The next 100x.
No,
What
like...
is the next 100x?
What? I don't know. I do not care whatsoever. I am Bitcoin and Bitcoin only. I love the fact that the Lightning Network makes it spendable. It's quite interesting. It's still in development, but it's doing some good things.
Never compromise.
Never compromise. That's exactly
What do you think
it.
about tokens on Bitcoin? You can issue your own shitcoin on Bitcoin.
I mean, if people want to do it, let them try. But again, don't stop them. It's maybe not the best idea, but I mean, who am I to say don't?
Paul, it was me, remember?
Yeah, just for the record, I like Paul Storts. It's your opinion. I'm fine with that. I respect that. So thank you, guys. One last question. How can people listening and watching, how can they follow you?
So please don't follow me down the street. It's kind of creepy. But yeah, if you want to follow me online, then pretty much Twitter is the only realistic place you'll find me. It's just Ben_de Waal. So Ben, BEN _DEWAAL.
Nice. That's, I concur. Yeah, do not follow me. That is not wise. Second of all, you can find me as Alexandra933 on most social platforms. And then my website, where you can find pretty much everything else, is advancedtech.io. So it's not advanced, it's advanced because it's all about moving forward. So ADVANCETECH.io. The podcast you can find at advancedtechpodcast.org, and invite people who maybe are hearing this the first time to go listen to some of the episodes. There's some pretty cool stuff in there.
Well, my Twitter is BTC Dragon Lord. And you can find it on Instagram, Twitter, Telegram is Karo Zagorus, but yeah, that's all. And there's Bitcoin Rehab podcast at Bitcoin Rehab. And yeah, that's all.
Yeah, so you can follow me if you're part of that 5%, which is female, but only if you're like 1.7 meters tall at least and not fat. And if you want kids, I'm down with that.
I just want to say, I mean, of course, you're going to get some shit for that, I'm sure. But
I mean, I made you all say unpopular stuff. I should have, destroyed my reputation too.
But, I mean, so I've known Vlad for a little while. We were hanging out in Riga back in 2019, Baltic.
Oh, don't mention that. Please don't.
I won't say
You
when or
were a witness in
where
one
or
of the darkest
anything.
moments of my life.
Yeah, there you go. I vouch for Vlad. Yeah, you should find someone who's amazing. Build a family. You're one of the good ones. And Karo,
I
you
want
too.
to build basically a basketball team, so that's why you have to be tall.
Nice. Good idea.
Yeah. So from my side, just thanks very much for having me on the podcast. It's been a lot of fun. I think having a few beers before we started probably helped, but yeah, happy to do it again anytime.
Thanks a lot for having us.
After Mt. Gox collapsed, that was really the precipice of me saying, right, this has to change. We need a totally transparent exchanging system and base it on gold instead of fiat.
Vaultoro is the hard money exchange which helps you beat inflation with instant swaps between the best stores of value known to man, gold and Bitcoin. Unlike most exchanges, Vaultoro understands the importance of transparency and security. All gold holdings are secured in top-tier Swiss private vaults and fully insured against theft, fire, and more. Maximize your purchasing power today by going to vaultoro.com/Bitcoin Takeover. This is not financial advice, but gold has been humankind's most reliable store of value in the last 6,000 years. Do your own research. Use promotion code TAKEOVER for a one-time bonus of 1 gram of gold for the first 50 new customers buying gold with Bitcoin. Are you concerned that your friends, neighbors, or KYC exchange might know how much Bitcoin you own? It is time to take your financial privacy seriously with Wasabi Wallet, a free and open source wallet solution which makes use of mega coin joins to mix your coins with those of hundreds of other strangers. Thanks to the groundbreaking Wabi Sabi engine, your coins get divided in smaller, untraceable units, which grant you great anonymity for both hodling and spending. Download Wasabi Wallet 2.0 today at wasabiwallet.io and take advantage of the mega coin joins. It's free and it's open source, so don't trust, verify. What are you going to wear when Bitcoin hits $1 million? The same old $20 t-shirt? Try Maison Marchi, the designer clothes made in Paris by Bitcoiners for Bitcoiners. They're not your average mass-produced sweatshop clothes. Marchi will ask for your measurements and tailor every piece of clothing according to the shape of your body, so you always look and feel great in your t-shirt, hoodie, or dress. It's all made in France by real artisans who also happen to be Bitcoiners, which is why Maison Marchi only accepts Bitcoin as payment for their clothes. Get a Maison Marchi t-shirt or hoodie today. It might even help you find a girlfriend. And once you do get a girlfriend, you can also buy her a Maison Marchi dress. Stop having fun looking poor and check out maisonmarchi.com. That's MAISONMAACHI.com.